This is the Mooncast.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I got two very special guests in the building. We got CPT Askew and Eric Lane, Captain and Staff Sergeant from the United States Army. So would you guys like to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, let the audience know about what you guys do, why you guys joined the military, and your journey being a United States Army soldier?
I'll let you go first.
Ty, you can go first.
No doubt. Yeah, so Ty Askew, I've been in the Army for 13 years. I enlisted in March 2010. I always wanted to join the military. My grandfather, Korean War, my great uncles, Vietnam War, and my step pops, he was a Desert Storm guy. So military was always one of those options for me, just to get up out of my environment. I'm gonna put it like that. But my auntie, she came on along a later road, and she was like, "Ty, you should really think about the college tip." And she said, you still can do the Army. So I enlisted in the reserves, went to Virginia State, did the ROTC gig. Did 4 years at Virginia State ROTC, commissioned, and man, I never looked back. Like, the Army has been an absolute blessing. It's elevated me and my family. The Army has paid for various degrees for my bachelor's, both of my masters, to prepare for my wife's doctoral. So, the educational benefits are there. The travel is amazing. Like, Eric and I, we first met each other at Fort Cavazos, Texas, back in 14 or 15. And this military just gives you friends and bonds that are unbreakable. You know what I mean? Like, that's my brother right there. And Van Joss, thank you. You're another soldier, and just the way we were able to click up, just based off this family, this bond of brothers that we have, is absolute blessing. So, no regrets. I love it. I'm out here in Los Angeles right now. The Army paid us to come to Los Angeles. So last night was at SoFi kicking it, and then this weekend got to go to the Rose Bowl, and it's just love out here. So nothing but love for the Army, what it can do for you, and it just makes you a better person. I'm a firm believer in that. Hey, Eric, I'm gonna turn it over to you, bro.
All right. I got a follow up after that. My name is Eric Lane. I've been in the Army for 9 years. I joined the Army in October 2014 as a 8/8 November. I think that's the one thing we all have in common, fellas. We all were 8/8 Novembers. Nothing happened, so something moved.
Can you explain what that is for the audience? Because they don't know what that is.
All right, so 8/8 November is a transportation control movement coordinator. We're essentially responsible for all the logistics that goes by via air, rail, sea, or ground within the U.S. Army. We try to find the best means possible to get equipment, personnel, cargo from point A to point B in layman's terms. That's essentially what we do. Been doing that for about 9 years. Staff sergeant. I joined the Army when I was 22 years old. Got my bachelor's from HBCU, the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. After that, I decided, hey, why not join the Army to better propel myself, do something outside of my norm. And I did that, and I've been here ever since. I'm actually at a pivotal point in my life right now. I'm about to transition to the reserves. So just for family purposes and dynamics, the Army has offered us my wife and I, a lot of great things. She's also a veteran. So, I'm extremely grateful for the experience to serve. But on the other hand, also looking forward to doing something else too. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, Ty, can you break down a little bit of JROTC for those who don't know what that is and how does it actually work, what you actually do within JROTC, like all the entire elements of it, just for the audience?
Yeah, no doubt. So if you ever see me looking down with this pen, I'm taking notes, right, for the audience who's doing this. So JROTC, right, that's the high school version of ROTC. So that's Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. And the mission of JROTC, don't quote me verbatim, but I tell you, it's just to teach young people how to be better people. I can't put it any other way, right? You take these 14 to 18-year-old kids who were in high school, and you teach them like the basics. I'm saying the Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And your instructors in those 4 years are really just trying to teach you how to become a better person, right? When you get to collegiate ROTC, that's when you're learning how to become an Army officer. So it expands from the Army values, but being a leader. right? And my leadership philosophy is simple. Soldiers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So when you get into RTC, they put you in these different trials and tribulations. I'm gonna call it that. Whether you're in the field doing land nav, doing squad sticks, you're out on a 7-day field exercise covered in mud on day 5, and you want to give up, and you got your instructors looking at you, you got your peers looking at you to say, okay, if this Joker can't handle it here in RTC, and I don't know if he's ready to lead America's sons and daughters, or I don't know if she's ready to lead America's sons and daughters. So JRTC and RTC, they are both designed to make us better human beings, right? And better leaders. And it's just an assessment before you come in and you really start to lead America's sons and daughters. Because when you graduate from RTC, the collegiate RTC, you're going to come into the Army as a second lieutenant. And as a second lieutenant, it's a good chance that you're going to be a platoon leader. The platoon leader, you're going to be the senior ranking person in that platoon. The decisions you make affects the sons and daughters of America, and it's on you. And you're going to be 22 years old. You're going to be young. A property book worth millions of dollars, like real lives you're dealing with. So RTC grooms you for 4 years to prepare you for that, because it's not that simple.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys think that the Army puts you into leadership positions too young?
I had mixed feelings on that, right? Because I was always told the Army promotes off of potential, right?
Mhm.
So you're being evaluated and you're being placed in that position based off of your potential and somewhat of the knowledge that you currently have from previous positions. So I don't necessarily think age has anything to do with it, but just having an open-mindedness and understanding that you don't know everything, I think that will take you a lot further. So to answer your question, I wouldn't say too young necessarily, but the Army is also orchestrated to where a second lieutenant, they typically have a sergeant first class platoon sergeant. That sergeant first class platoon sergeant has been in the Army for at least 12 years, 10 to 12 years minimum. So he or she can guide that second lieutenant and propel them and give them the real world experience to make them better. So in a sense, you always have a battle buddy or someone that can kind of help you out. And as Ty alluded towards, leadership ain't about what you know, because I've been in positions where I didn't know much as far as the job, but the fact that I was able to take care of soldiers, help lead them from point A to point B within their personal lives, I excelled. So you know how it is when you progress in rank, you're not really boots on the ground anymore. So you're kind of more so behind the scenes handling admin work and essentially just personal issues. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric, can you speak to a little bit how your transition was? Because you were already a college grad, right, before you joined?
Yes.
Yeah. So how was that transition from you to just, okay, college grad and then into boot camp? Can you just break that down, how it is? Because I know there's people out there that would like to join straight out of college, but they're a little bit frightened. They rather maybe just go into civilian space first. Can you just explain a little bit how it was like in
Yeah.
terms of the psychology and everything was with boot camp and then AIT and how that transitioned into your first duty station?
All right, I got you. So I was 22 when I joined. Obviously, I had my bachelor's degree, and I kind of went through some real world things contrary to the average 17 to 19-year-old. So I joined the Army as a specialist, which is the E4. Typically, correct me, Ty, if I'm incorrect, but if you have 120 credits or a completed degree, the Army will bring you in as a specialist enlisted. And then from there, you can determine if you want to go OCS, green and gold, or you want to stay enlisted. I decided to stay enlisted. So basic training, it wasn't that hard, in my personal opinion. I grew up in a household, black mom, having extreme high demands, so it wasn't really like too bad for me. I think the hardest part for me was just dealing with the immaturity around me, because I'm 22 years old. Yes, I wasn't the most mature, still not the most mature, but this is like certain things that you should know: right place, right time, right uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody says stop doing something, I'm gonna stop. So it wasn't that bad. And then in AIT, I was more so viewed as kind of like a big brother in a sense, because I was the oldest one at that time. So 17, 18-year-olds calling me old man. I'm like, damn, I'm only 22 years old. Like, but in a sense, it was just them showing their gratitude and the respect that they have for me because of the way I carry myself. And, going on to my duty station, I'll be real, that's where I met the most resistance, because there were specialists already in the Army 4 years, however long they've been in. And I've been in the Army for 4 or 5 months, and I'm the same rank as that person. Or you have a PFC that's been in the Army 3 years, 3 years, however long. I'm a specialist coming in, just high speed, ready to hit the ground running, trying to do what I got to do to get promoted. And a lot of people don't like that, unfortunately. But it was a humbling experience, man. I realized I had to humble myself in some regards. And I was that specialist, like, okay, I came in, I thought I knew everything, but I ain't know nothing, man. I ain't know a damn thing.
Yeah. Yo, Todd, can you talk a little bit too, because you have two options, right? If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it's still like that, where if you get a degree, you can either come in as a specialist or you can come in as an officer, right? Is that correct? Can you break that down? How you can transition directly from getting a degree to just going into as a second lieutenant?
Right. Yeah. So you come in with a degree. I mean, Eric alluded to it, right? You have the option to come in as a specialist. Right, specialist is an E4 enlisted, or you can have the option to compete and go to OCS and earn your commission. Right. Thing about OCS is not a guarantee. Right. You can put in for that position, that slot, but and I don't want to sound discouraging, but if you don't prepare yourself, then it's not a guarantee you can come out as a second lieutenant, because OCS is definitely strenuous. It's similar to ROTC, but it's 4 years condensed into a matter of weeks. You feel what I'm saying? So you instead of being at that university for 4 years where you got your cadre grooming you. When I say cadre, sergeant first class, master sergeant, senior captain, major, lieutenant colonel grooming you, helping you become better. You got senior non-commissioned officers and commissioned officers on your neck for weeks, trying to get you to force feed that 4 years into a matter of weeks. But once you make it through, you earn your commission as an Army lieutenant. And from there, you branch off to whichever branch you prefer, right? So you have the medical corps, signal corps, military intelligence, infantry, armor, field artillery. That's when those options become available to you. And you get ready for the real world.
Nice. Yeah, I want to know too, because Eric, I see that you got a little bit of a beard going on, and for the people that are listening, how is the shaving profile and all the different types of rules in regards to beard and grooming and hair? How is it now currently? Because I know, like when I got in, maybe it's a little bit slight more nuanced. I think you said like they can dye their hair now, and I don't know. Can you just explain a little bit more about like the differences and nuances from how it was when you first got in back in 2014 to like how it is now currently?
All right, don't quote me on it, but as you know, the Army is an organization, right? And any type of organization that's good and they have good leadership, they have to adapt and conform to what the new generation wants, right?
Yeah.
So from my perspective, being in ForceCom, from ForceCom, now I'm a TRADOC as an instructor. I like the direction the Army went in regards to grooming standards, because my personal opinion, I believe it gives individuals the more freedom of expression. When you're in a uniform, I believe that everyone still wants to have a sense of identity, and also they also still have that desire to express themselves. So there are a lot of rules that have changed in regards to like hair colors, nails, just certain things that have somewhat evolved from 2014 when I joined up until now. Even now, they allow female soldiers to wear their hair down in the ponytail.
Oh,
when you're in the
wow.
field. Yeah, when you're in the field, obviously commander's discretion. But when you're in the field, you can wear your ponytail down. Also, like during PT hours, they can wear their ponytails down as well. But a lot of things have changed. Uniforms obviously changed. Like we have the the greens now.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. The pink and greens. Yeah, we have the pink and green uniforms now. We joined there with the dress blues, so they're slowly but surely weeding out the dress blues. But there's
Wow.
been a number of things that have changed. Even now we have summer OCP and bottoms as well.
Oh, damn.
So yeah. Those are my go-tos. I don't even wear the winter ones anymore, man. It's
Damn, that's crazy.
It's kind of more like a relaxed and a fitted style in a sense. Flex your guns a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. What about, so when you talk about the nails, what specifically changed with the nails? Like, can guys get their nails painted? I know guys are doing that too as well. Girls can do that now too. Like, what changed exactly?
I believe they don't quote me. I don't have the Alarac directly in front of me, and Ty, feel free to intervene. But they can be a little longer, and I believe they can do like a couple different shades now. I believe I can't quote it exactly, but I believe they can be somewhat longer and they can do a couple different shades.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said with the hair, you can dye your hair any color you want, or is it?
Not any color.
Yeah.
I believe they took out the term natural hair color. So
Okay.
a couple years ago when that Alarac message first came out, Ty gonna laugh at me. I had dyed my hair like a fall orange color.
Yeah.
Yeah, because hey man, I'm like this is the
He thought he was Malcolm X or something.
I'm like, hey, we can change our hair color now. Let me try something different, man. Just up the
Yeah.
ante a little bit. And like,
Yeah.
if I
He's trying
want
to
to
keep
go
up with
dye
the
my,
Joneses.
yep, if I want to go dye my hair blonde, I can do that, and no one can say anything.
Yeah. Okay. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. And Ty, can you speak a little bit to how it's been in regards to, because I know the numbers are down in regards to being able to retention, right? I know the numbers are down. So can you speak a little bit to why you think the numbers are down? Is it because the younger generation, they have a little bit more access to information and maybe they're a little bit against the Army? Or what do you think is going on? Why the Army is struggling to get new recruits?
Yeah. So I like what you said. I mean, I think access to information is definitely a factor, right? You
Yeah.
know, when we were youngest, I know when I was in high school, man, like MySpace was still the wave. You know what I mean? Like, and then
Facts.
Facebook, and like we didn't walk around with the phones on us, right? Like I had a PSP, and there was a spot in my
Yeah.
hood where you get the free Wi-Fi, so we would go there try to get that free Wi-Fi and just sit on the stoop trying to get it, do whatever we needed to do. But now, like you
Yeah.
said, kids have access to information just right there at the tip of their hand. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that has definitely influenced it. But furthermore,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you look at the labor market is changing. Out here in
Yeah.
California, McDonald's minimum wage is $20 an hour.
Yeah.
All right, that's competitive to what a lower enlisted soldier would make. So
Yeah.
it's like, why would I take this risk of possibly deploying if I can make the same or if not more money right there at McDonald's, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we gotta capture those young people and let them understand that. And I tell Eric this all the time, but Nelson Mandela, man, my favorite quote, he said, "It's not the lack of ability that limited my people; it's the lack of opportunity." Right? And I think the Army is the great equalizer, or the military in general is the great equalizer for young people and opportunity. Man, we don't care about your
Mm-hmm.
race, you got your creed, your sexual orientation. We don't care about any of that, right? Think about it. The Army would take anybody. You got to think about any unit you served with. You had a little bit of everything. And if you deployed or ever went on mission, y'all came together to get that done, right? McDonald's is not going to do that for you, right? McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you may be the best fry cook in the world, but that's all you're doing is cooking fries, right? But when you a
Mm-hmm.
PFC, generator mechanic, and that tactical operations center and that battalion commander is trying to move his or her forces, and they're depending on that young private first class to maintain that generator, oh, that means something, right? And there's those skills or those intangibles and those things that you really can't see to help develop character. So I think the biggest thing is letting them know, right? It's bigger than beans and bullets. We have so many opportunities for young people. There's over 200 MOSs in the U.S. Army. 13 of them are combat.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them are combat support. So, you know, 18-year-old fresh out of college, you can go be a paralegal specialist, invest 4 years in the U.S. Army, come out with a GI Bill, and then go to law school. There's plenty of cases of people who've done it. Or you can go to 4 years at McDonald's, come out, you still at McDonald's. You feel what I'm saying? So this
Yeah.
thing called life, man. I'm a firm believer, man. Life is like the stock market, and time is money, and how we invest our time, for good or bad, the decisions we make are gonna compound later down the road. And you know, just making sure that the young folks understand that the military is more than what you see on Band of Brothers or We Were Soldiers, and that's an integral part of the military. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes it deters and scares people. But nah, we really want you to understand what you're getting yourself into, and you know, just access to information is one. The changes in the labor market, and then lastly, we just really have to inform the public what all we have to offer them in the military, because again, it's a lot more than what they think.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, Eric, do you think partly is also due to, because I know like this is a little bit more scientific, but like I know the testosterone levels are starting to go down slowly as well. So men are, I think as a subsequent event, are less brave, less courageous, less wanting to, put their life, at risk. for the country. You think that has a little bit, maybe something to do with it too as well? It's also the propaganda, as you guys know. We won't get so much into it, but there's a lot of propaganda that's a little bit pushing certain narratives that I see, on social media and stuff like that. Do y'all think that maybe partly due to why the numbers are down in regards to the recruitment?
I won't necessarily say anything in regards to testosterone per se, but I think numbers are down just because people understand there are more options out there in the world besides the military. So although the military may offer me X, Y, and Z, I may want to do something else. I may want to pivot and do something else. So for example, I know a lot of people, they decide to go to trade school now, right?
Yeah.
Or they want to get into IT, get numerous certifications. And after studying for an exam for X amount of months, a company decides to take a risk on them. They're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and make the 6 figures opposed to making $25,000 as a private or private first class during the military. So I think it's more so like there are more options now, and people have access to things outside of the military. Because back in the day, I remember I remember this conversation vividly. I told Ty this conversation. He met my dad before. June 2nd, 2010. I'm driving to graduation, bro, up in Marlboro, Maryland. My dad tells me in the car. He says, "Son," he said, "congratulations, I'm happy for you, but you got 2 weeks to make a decision." He said, literally, we're driving, bro.
My dad did the same thing to me. That's why I'm laughing.
He told me, he said, "You got 2 weeks to make a decision because you're not gonna be sitting in my house. Y'all know the vibe. Eating my food, drinking my Kool-Aid."
Facts.
He said, "You got 2 weeks to make a decision," and he said, "I'm not talking about a mental decision. I need a legitimate decision." He said, "You go to college, go get a trade, or you get a good job." And he said, "I ain't talking to a McDonald's job." So I literally had 2 weeks to come back to my dad with something tangible to tell him, like, "Hey, Dad, this is what I desire to do in my life." And he's going to support me whatever I decided. But, nowadays, I don't think people are having those conversations with the kids because when we were growing up, it was literally, hey, military or college.
Exactly.
Or out my damn house, the third option.
Military, college, or some damn place else. So people have more of an option. I think our generation of parents, like, we're becoming more understanding and sensitive to not putting these unrealistic expectations on our kids because, I would love for my kids to follow my footsteps, but my wife is like, nah, my kids ain't. She's like, our kids ain't going to the military. We can support whatever they decide, but they have options now, bro.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we didn't have growing up. What if we did have the options? We weren't exposed to the options.
Yeah, I think another thing too, when you go back to social media, because what Ty was talking about, social media gave a lot of options, even for criminals, right? Now you can just go online, build a brand, leverage the brand to sell a digital product or service, right? And I think a lot of kids are doing that now too as well. The TikToks, the YouTubes, and all these different outlets. I think they're leveraging that a lot more. And I want to ask you, Ty, how do you think the Army currently? What is their marketing strategy? Are they leveraging social media a lot to get through to kids to be able to recruit them? And how are they doing it? And also, is personal branding becoming more and more of a common thing within the military? That's another thing I want to ask too as well. But first, I want to talk about how you think the Army is leveraging social media to attract new recruits.
Right. So in every Army recruiting battalion, you have an APA specialist. That's advertising and public affairs. In addition to that, advertising and public affairs, you have a social media specialist. And what they do, their job is I'm gonna go back to IPB, right? The intelligence preparation of the battlefield. Your first step is to define your operational environment. And when we see what's going on within the community, since each battalion has a different area, we talk to the local leaders, whether it's the high school superintendents, elected officials, or just community leaders, and we get an idea like, so what are the young people around here? What do they want to do? Like generally, do they just want to travel, go straight to college, et cetera, et cetera? And from there, we cater our marketing towards that so they can see exactly what the Army has to offer. And we do that through like targeted Instagram, targeted Facebook ads, flyers. Sometimes we go to laundromats and we just post up print flyers, like old school print flyers. Because not only do we want to influence the kids that we want to recruit. But as Eric said, we want to influence parents as well. We want, one thing I love about Nick Saban, Deion Sanders, and all the other great coaches is that when they recruit kids, they're not just recruiting kids, they're recruiting families. And we want to give families that reassurance that, when your son or daughter enlists in the U.S. Army, that we're going to take care of them. So we also advertise towards parents and families and let them know what they're going to get. For example, an 18-year-old may not see the need of a VA loan, right? But that mom, that 37, 38-year mom, who's on year 19 of her 30-year mortgage, she's struggling that payments. She knows that later down that road, when her son or daughter wants to purchase that home, if all they have to do is pay closing costs, because the VA loan is going to take care of you, that's amazing, right? They know that parents are going to know, my son or daughter may not want to go to school now, but when life hit them, they see how real it is. They're going to go a little bit down the road. And I think Eric is about to start using his. When they're out the Army, they get that GI Bill. That GI Bill gives you BAH and 36 months of education that's paid for. So we targeted that. I can't say target, that's a bad word. We try to influence the kids. We try to influence the parents. And we want them to know that, we're here for you. And we utilize social media, as you said, Instagram, Facebook, not TikTok, like Snapchat, YouTube, Google Ads, all types of ways. And when it comes to the individuality, you're absolutely right. So I'm out here in LA, and I don't want to say the word. I'm not gonna say. What's my man's? That's an awful lot of cough syrup. Desto. He's right here from LA. Now he started selling shirts out the back of his truck, and now man's is really killing it. Like Nip. Well, rest in peace to Nip. He came out selling T-shirts like right down with Slauson and Crenshaw over there about Off the Hook Fish and the barbecue joint. Been in those areas, and I'm telling you, those are some real areas. And like you said, that social media, like when you got that brand you believe in, like that's why I like the Moon Boy, right? Like that's good branding right there. And the marketing funnel was simple, right? Before you can sell any product, you got to generate awareness, and that's when that social media comes in handy, right? And once they get awareness of it, they get that intent. Do I really want to get this? And if they do, they get that consideration. Then you get that conversion funnel. But when people look at it, they're gonna be like, "Yo, is this authentic? Is this person real?" I wonder, like, what people would have brought that Nip shirt or Desto shirts if they like, "Yo, he portraying this, but Buddy ain't really like that." Chances are they would have left that right there where it was, right? So it's so many factors, man. And I think you hit it spot on, and I hope that helped.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Eric, go ahead. You can go ahead.
To highlight the social media perspective from being in the real Army, well, I'm an instructor, right? So I work in the training doctrine in the United States Army. So I teach brand new trainees, fresh out of basic training. They sit in a 6-week class with me, and then they earn the title of 8 November, right? So from my perspective, I think social media has somewhat advanced and evolved over the years when it comes to the military. Because when we first joined, it was don't say anything about the military on social media, right? Barely like don't even put it in your bio, barely post photos. Like I remember my recruiter telling me, like, "Hey man, you're trying to get your secret clearance. When they're doing your background investigation, make sure you don't have no pictures of alcohol or anything or cups and stuff like that." I'm thinking in my head, like, I just spent 4 years of college. Like, of course, I'm posted up with a red Solo cup with a couple pictures, but
it's too late.
I think social media has evolved and somewhat helped the military, right? Because a lot of times we're in places where our family can't get in touch with us, but in basic training, they're broadcasting everything. They're posting photos, they're posting videos of everything. And even in my situation, as an instructor, most of my students are National Guard and reservists, right? Their families don't have the capacity or the funds to come to graduation. We can stream it on Facebook. And that kind of helps bridge the gap, and social media allows the family to feel close to the individuals, although they're not physically there. So I got to get Army their props for that, definitely. I think they've definitely done their research and their due diligence to filter through the social media and use it as a tool, because it can be a hindrance, things we can't discuss, as we know, but I believe the Army has done a fantastic job using it as a tool. Even when I first became an instructor last year, they were updating the promo video for 8 Novembers. So they were out there recording, showing them putting things inside the C-17. Like, let's be real, fellas. That video that we watched when we went to MEPS and told us what they didn't remember did, that thing was
Yeah.
outdated. We all know that.
Yeah, the
Like,
1995 video. This is what's like being in 88 November.
right. And so
This is what you'll be
now,
doing.
and so now I've seen, like, bro, like I've seen to the point where it's like, yo, you can watch a video on TikTok or Instagram and the Army promoting something, and it captivates my attention. I'm like, I want to stay in more. Then I'm like, nah, I'm good. I know this guy. I already been down the road before.
That's how they get you, huh? Are they doing like maybe individual social media pages per company? Are they doing that now too as well to show what the companies are doing? That's interesting. So who's in charge of that typically, or is it just like a cohesive type of thing, responsibility? Do you decentralize the responsibility, or is there somebody that you guys put as a designated social media manager for that situation?
So the units I've been in, it's always been like an LT to manage it, and they only have like a tech savvy or social media guru specialist that kind of manage it as well. So when I was at Fort Hood, I ran it for the unit I was in, or Fort Cavazo, excuse me. But you know, obviously, as you grow up in each echelon, it changes.
Do you think that? Oh God, I was going to ask. You think that's going to be a new MOS at some point, like social media manager?
Yeah, so we already
have a
in the
public
office.
affairs.
Yeah, we have it in the office, but we also have marketing, and I think they're going to start opening up marketing to more of enlisted as well. And I'll tell you right here in USAREC and recruiting, and it's I think Eric hit it in the head. Like the Army has done an excellent job of allowing people to be themselves, right? Like, and I think all three of us agree. If you're not authentic, people are going to be able to see that and check that. So if you're just pushing out a big national message from the Army, and you think you're going to get your recruit these kids, that ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? The Army has these dope commercials. If you're watching college ball, I know y'all seen some of those commercials. These commercials are fire, but it still takes that individual recruiter who influences these kids at their level to also let them see. So in my battalion, a lot of the recruiters, I think all of them have their own personal Instagram account, their personal Facebook, and they're showing just what they do in a daily life. Like you'll see our guys out doing recruiting operations or just out in the mall talking to kids or in high schools doing kids. You may see that same recruiter 6 hours later on a Friday afternoon at the Dodgers game with a brew in his hand. He's a grown man. Like, it's okay for him to get a beer and watch a baseball game and live in life. Like we want kids to see that we're not robots. We are humans. We are regular people. And that social media captures that and allows that to be seen in full transparency.
Hey bro, I'm just trolling is something that will not just challenge your perspective, but also touch your heart and soul. It's a book that defies convention, blending art and literature into a thought-provoking masterpiece. A reflective piece of provocative art that tackles societal constructs from angles you've never considered. Hey bro, I'm just trolling delves into the very essence of our existence. It questions the technology that surrounds us, challenges our notions of beauty, stares unflinchingly into the eyes of death, and questions the boundaries of freedom. It scrutinized the educational system that molds our very future. This book is a journey, an exploration of shared human experience, and it's a work of art that refuses to be confined by tradition. It's a canvas painted with words, a melody of thought, and a testament to the power of creativity in a world dominated by algorithms and data. Visit moonboycapitalventures.com and get your hands on Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling today. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Now let's jump back into the show.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, definitely, because I think even back then before we joined, when you hear Army, you're just like, dang, that's my whole life. But in hindsight, it's not our life. Like, you know, I have a life outside of this job. And I don't treat it as if it's a regular 9 to 5 because it's certainly a distinct honor and privilege to serve this nation. But you know, hey, we got lives outside of work.
Eric, I want to transition into AIT because for the audience doesn't know, that's advanced individual training. Can you just break that down a little bit more about what that's about and how it's changed over the course of time from when you had advanced individual training when you got in to how it is? You're AIT instructor, right?
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So,
can you break that down? Can you break down the whole entire element of AIT?
All right. So soldiers complete basic combat training, which is 8 weeks. And depending on the MOS, they may stay at that station to complete AIT, and it'll be considered OSAT, same station. or they'll transition to another duty station and complete advanced individual training there. So
Mhm.
typically, soldiers, they'll come in, they'll start off in processing. Hey, speaking of which, y'all remember those horrible processing barracks we had?
Yeah.
They
I
finally
remember. I
shut.
remember.
They finally shut those things down. They finally shut those down.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They finally shut those down. My bad. That was sidebar. So,
Yeah. Go
but
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
they come to AIT. They in process, and then they'll essentially begin a class.
Mhm.
When we joined, we had AIT platoon sergeants. I'm not sure about you, Todd, but when I joined in 2014, we had
Yes.
AIT platoon sergeants. But now they have drill
Mhm.
sergeants in the AIT, right? And I believe that's a great thing because the drill sergeants are there to reinforce discipline, reinforce standards, in addition to, somewhat prepare them for the real army. So in my unit in particular, 508 TTD out of Fort Gregg, Dallas, Virginia, formerly known as Fort Lee, drill sergeants there, they're amazing, man. Obviously they're there to be the stern enforcers, but I've also seen them metaphorically remove their cap or move
Mhm.
their round browns and mentor soldiers. Talk to them like they're
Yeah.
human beings, and I think that's kind of what was needed and what you weren't getting more so out of the AIT platoon sergeant role because
Mhm.
I personally felt my platoon sergeant in basic training. I mean AIT, he was more so just there for admin purposes. He didn't do
Yeah.
PT with us. If we ain't have no personal issues going on, no paperwork jacked up, hey, we didn't see the guy. So now drill sergeants have that presence in the barracks, literally like sun up to sun down. Drill sergeants have that presence, and I believe it makes a world of difference in regards to preparing these soldiers to be successful at their duty stations.
Yeah. Ty, can you talk a little bit about leadership and how the tactics have changed in regards to training leadership? Because I know, like when I was getting out, they were rebranding the it was basic leaders course, right? But before it was called something else. Forgot what it was called before, but I know that they were changing it, rebranding it, and tweaking it. Can you just talk to a little bit of the transition and how now the leaders are being trained currently, captains specifically?
Word, I got you. Yeah, so and when I first joined the army, I remember like my platoon sergeants and they were talking like A knock and B knock and all this. And then I came in and it was the WLC, the Warriors Leader course, and that was the
Yeah.
basic leader course for enlisted. And I think the titles have changed, but overall that leadership hasn't. What I mean, that leadership hasn't changed. And I think what has changed is that, you know, as Eric said, I don't think that we're becoming a softer army. But I do think we're becoming a more compassionate, empathetic army in the sense that we understand that leadership is just not that hard nosed, you will do this, you will. That's what makes our army great. The fact that when we out doing our decentralized execution, that if a young
Mhm.
E5 on the ground sees something that platoon sergeant doesn't, they're not just gonna blindly execute because they were told to do this. Now that E5 on ground gonna use that discipline initiative and hold up, hey, sorry, this don't make sense. Is what I'm saying. Report it back, and they're gonna call an audible right there. So I think that's what the changes I see with the leadership courses. And as far as being an army officer, uh, I think it's the same. Like it hasn't changed to the sense that we're just gonna revamp leadership. But what has changed is that the humility and letting more folks know, yeah, don't let that rank on your chest get it confused, right? Because that young private can still teach you something. I found that out as a young second lieutenant. Y'all know how it is in the motor pool when it's cold outside, right?
Mhm.
And that young PFC, like, hey, sir, I'm gonna show you something. You get that drip tan, you put it on the back of that muffler, and then you start it up and you hit the gas like 20 times, and then all the smoke come out, and then the Humvee finally starts. Just having that humility and just being able to be taught by somebody under you. I think that's what it's really coming down to. And as far as an army officer, uh, I don't think much has changed. Like doctrine and regulations, you will know. You will know. If you're a company commander, a AR 600-20, you should know command policy. If you
Yeah.
XO and the company commander, 735-5, you should know proper accountability. Because when them
Mhm.
flippers come in, they real. If you want to write a memorandum or some type of correspondence, 25-50, managing correspondence. You will know these type of things. So it's a combination of the doctrine, the operational experience, the academic institution. That's what 600-3 says in regards to self-development and leadership.
Mhm.
And I don't think that changed. I think it just changed the title and letting people know it's okay to be a little more empathetic and allowing people not to talk back in a disrespectful way, but you just don't know everything, bro. And listen to that young soldier because he or she may know more than you.
Yeah, for sure, man. I want to. Yeah, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. I get a little passionate when we talk about leadership, right? So
Yes.
I'll be
Yeah.
real. I kind of adapted and became the leader I am because of Ty, right? You know how it is, bro. Brand new E5 and a movement control team,
Yeah.
21-man unit. You know, you're in
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
unit that you were a specialist in, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had to come in that joint like a pit bull in a sense, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I made a bunch of enemies that way. Not saying,
Yeah.
as an NCO, like you want to be liked per se, but it's like I had to come in there with I came in there with a certain approach, and I realized that it wasn't
Yeah.
advantageous or conducive to the environment that I was in. So now my philosophy is simple, right? We said this numerous times. I'm gonna quote Todd verbatim on this because again, that's Todd's like one of my best friends, my the godson of my oldest son, everything. So frat brother, everything, right? But um, leadership is a relationship, right? And with all great relationships, in order for them to improve, you got to have trust.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to open that segue to build that trust, you got to show people you care about them,
Yes.
right? So I keep it simple. Everybody wants to feel valued, inclusive. They want to understand what they're doing, but more importantly, they want to know why they're doing it. Because when we were coming up, it was just do as you're told. Don't ask
Yes.
why. We'll
Yeah.
tell you later, and they never will tell us. So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm providing that purpose, that direction, and that motivation.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I'm empowering my subordinates. The reason why I'm empowering them is because I'm not going to be in this unit forever, right? Prime example, not to toot my horn, but last year or year before last, when I was at JBLM in Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was a section sergeant. Just got promoted to staff sergeant. For 3 months, I was a section sergeant. Then a month later, I ended up becoming a detachment sergeant.
Mm.
The only reason that section was able to function from me going from detachment sergeant from supply sergeant was because I empowered my privates, bro. Like
Mm.
my private, he went to every meeting with me. I held him accountable the same way my commander held me accountable, the same way my first sergeant held me accountable, right?
Yeah.
So, and I wish I had that knowledge when I was a young sergeant in my first couple years because I realized like, damn, like there were a lot of things that I did as a young sergeant or a young NCO that I just ain't know no better. There's probably a lot of people like, damn, I don't like Sergeant Lane or I didn't like him, but I didn't know any better.
Yeah. For sure.
I really
I
didn't know any
wanted.
better.
I wanted to ask you because before you became a staff sergeant, when you got promoted from a specialist to a sergeant, can you talk a little bit about how weird it is? Because that's the thing that people don't understand. And the differences and nuances between being a specialist and then getting promoted to sergeant, being in the same unit. Can you talk about the struggles that you had and the challenges in regards to that, where your peers are now, your subordinates overnight, and how that transition was for you?
Man, it was a blink of an eye. Believe it or not, I don't know if you remember this, Vandross, but I remember the list came out like on a Friday. Yeah, it was like end of the month. The list came on a Friday, and I was going to get promoted the following week. And we were in a motorproof
Mm-hmm.
formation. I don't know. I'm not going to say the soldier's name,
Yeah.
but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He was like Ty. He was looking jacked up. And, he was jacked up, and I corrected him. I was real humble or whatever, and he said something like foul to me, and Vandross was like, "Yo, that's an NCO right there. Like he'll be starting next week. Why are you
Yeah.
talking to him that way?" And he was like,
Yeah.
"Well, he's not one yet." Like, what does his chest say? His chest says the
Yeah.
same thing that mine does. But
Oh
it's a
man, I
bro.
remember that,
It's
man.
yeah. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But we
But
ain't gonna get into that. But yeah,
it's a tough transition, man, because
yeah.
it's one of those things where you can read all the books you want on leadership.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
can read ADP 6-22 Army leadership, right? But
Mm-hmm.
nothing's going to prepare you for the experience. Like it's just one of those things where it's like you just learn on the fly, and it's truly on the job training. But it was
Mm-hmm.
definitely a difficult time, man. Literally being
Yeah.
a specialist and then going from a sergeant in the same unit that I was raised and breeded to be an NCO and a 80 November, and like it was tough, man. Like
Yeah.
it was so much resistance, and it was like you want to come in there humble, but it's like you don't want nobody to try to punk you or try to undermine your authority or your rank at the same time. And at that time, like like I didn't really have much guidance necessarily as far as someone to look up to in my unit. So I was kind of just winging it and pulling from the hip.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always the best. I didn't always do the best things or everything that was right, but I learned from it. But it's definitely a hard transition.
Ty, can you talk a little bit about potential strategies in regards to, do you think it makes sense for the specialist to then get promoted to sergeant and stay in the same company, or do you think they should do some kind of sergeant swap, like where you swap one sergeant to another from another sergeant, like within the same confines of the same kind of company, like for instance, transportation company here within the same battalion, and you just swap the sergeants just so like to kind of diffuse any kind of erratic situations that could potentially happen from that.
Yeah, I think it's dependent, right?
Yeah.
If that soldier, because it seemed like Eric, I don't even know the soldier, and I don't want to sound petty, but it seemed like he was hating. So he was hating a little bit. So he ain't started yet. You know what I mean? But if the young soldiers who are following that young NCO, right?
Yeah.
They say no one is more professional than I.
Yeah.
If they following that E5 team chief and they want to be like that guy or that girl and they trust them, and them soldiers, like, we don't have to separate them because they're gonna respect it. Like, nah, that's like Eric said, now that's Big Brother now. Like, we're gonna do what we need to do Monday through Friday, keep it at the utmost perfection. And maybe on the weekends we can still probably sit back, talk Army, and how can you help me become that E5 that I want to be, if that trust is there. But if you have some people in that formation that obviously are gonna undermine or undercut that NCO, and I agree with you, man. We may want to move that soldier to another unit, the NCO to another unit, so they can get that real experience. So I really think it's all dependent. And I've seen it when I was a company commander. We have E4s become E5s. And because we had a tight knit unit, and we spend a lot of time in the field. And I promise you, if you want to do some team building, go to the field. Go on a CPX for 3 weeks. Go on a warfighter for 4 weeks. Start trading. That was it. Number 10 is what? Chili Mac MRE. Go get the chicken noodle soup.
Oh man, MREs.
When you see them soldiers start trading,
They got
in the
Chick-fil-A
back.
MREs now, man.
They got Chick-fil-A MREs?
Don't say that.
I'm messing with
you. Okay. So you see these soldiers in the back playing spades. They playing. Man, I had my soldiers. They taught me this like Magic card game. I'm telling you, man. I was in the back of the LMTV playing this game called Magic. Felt like the ultimate nerd. But we had a ball, right? So when you got a tight unit where people really trust each other, as Eric said, trust is everything. You don't have to make that decision. You don't have to move people because they trust and respect that man or that woman. When you don't have that trust, and you got people, I'm not gonna say hate, but being unprofessional. Yeah, it's time to move. It's time to move.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Ty, how's the Army dealing with in regards to mental health? Because I know when I came in, it was a little bit different because I deployed right away to Afghanistan. And I think it was slightly different with how they handle like behavioral health and stuff like that. How's it been these past 10 years? From around, I think you've been around for 13 years, right? You said. So how has it changed been in regards to how the protocol is in regards to mental health and how the Army handles that and how they perceive that to be in 2023?
Yeah. So, it's changing. I mean, I think Eric hit it in the head, right? I think it's the generational generations, right? So, again, coming up like D, Korean War, Uncle Bernard, Uncle Luke, Vietnam War, God dang, my stepdad, AJ, Big AJ, he, Desert Storm. These men, like, and just being from the environments we from. Man, I saw my first body when I was 7 years old, seeing a man laid out in the street just leaking, right? I still had to go to school the next morning and go walk past that same spot where the blood stain still is. Right, so coming up, how I grew up, man, depression was a luxury. Anxiety was a luxury. If we look at what's going on in Hamas and Israel right now, what's going on in Ukraine, like, they don't have the time to just sit back and feel bad for themselves because they have to make it to the next day, right? So that's one part of my brain. And this is just Todd speaking, not the Army. One part of my brain is like, man, that's a luxury. Then another side of my brain is like, when I injured my shoulder, hey, I'm back in 315 now, Eric, after a very long time. But when I injured this joker, I had to go to physical therapy. I had to get myself right. And that physical therapist, they taught me the exercises I need to do that rehabilitation. I feel the same way for that mental health, right? I don't think mental health is one of those things you just like, man, I got to go see my therapist and you got that therapist for the rest of your life. Like, nah, that mental health therapist, that clinician or therapist should help you get to the point that when you come across some type of hardship and you endure some suffering, that you know how to handle it the next time so that you no longer need those services. So I think mental health, the stigma, I'm not going to say is absolutely gone. It depends on how you perceive it. If you call this a stigma, right, I'm going to give you a scenario. Of all of us are going overseas, right? We got to go do the nation's work. And the platoon sergeant says, I'm going through a mental health crisis. I think we need to remove that person from that position, right? For the betterment of that platoon, to ensure that, because if you're not right, then I can't expect you to take care of somebody else. And I don't call that a stigma. I call that doing the right thing for the unit, for those soldiers, right? But if you going through a hardship, let's say your wife left you, or you $25,000 in debt, et cetera, and we give you these support services because you're going through a mental strain. Once you come back and you tell us, I got it under control, good to go, then okay, you coming with us then, right? So it just depends on the severity and if somebody's trying to abuse the mental health opposed to they're really going through something. Because I've seen both, I'm just being real with you. I've seen people say mental health, anxiety, this, and this. And I see the same soldier. I don't know why I'm out there. I'm outside at the Waffle Den. Was it Wall Street or City Lights beside the Waffle Den on the same road, like a Cavazos? Eric, I know you know. Which one was it? I never forget, though. I had a soldier, man. He said he couldn't do this. Anxiety doesn't come out his room. Man, that mug was in City Lights cutting up. Wall Street. I forgot which club it was.
Oh, you talking about Taboo?
Taboo? Was it Taboo? It was one of them clubs, man.
On 4th Street.
Yeah, he was trying to handle his depression, man.
Right. I guess so. It's like, when you feel like when it's being abused, that's when it's bad, right? Because there are really soldiers who are going through things. Guys and girls who have lost battle buddies, lost fellow soldiers overseas. I hate to say it, but sexual harassment is real. You got women and men who've been sexually harassed, and that stuff is real. You got people going through some traumatic situations. Then you also got people who just, I'm trying to get out, trying to raise my disability. I'm going to do this. Let me go to the 5th floor. Like, nah, that's not right, because it undermines people who are really going through stuff. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, Eric, what about you, man? What are your thoughts on mental health and how you handle it with your subordinates?
I'm a firm believer that if you allow people to take care of their personal issues, they'll do whatever for you at work. Like literally, like I've had soldiers who I shouldn't have given the days off according to the Army, where they had X, Y, and Z going on personally. I give them time to regroup and compose themselves, whether it be providing them resources such as military one source, chaplain, going to the actual behavioral health center. They utilize those things and they come back even better. And once they're back, they have an immense amount of respect for me because I didn't judge them based off of that situation, right? I view them in a different light because they had the fortitude to actually seek the help, and you told me what was going on, and we can work through this thing together. So that's just my perspective on it. Like, I mean, I go see behavioral health every week, bro. This man can do it.
Just get your mind right.
Sometimes need somebody to talk to, man. Sometimes life is overwhelming.
It's totally fine, man.
Yep, trying to balance work, being a husband, being a dad, preparing for this transition. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, and I go see them every week. And I wish somebody look at me differently. I wish somebody would, but I love that the Army no longer has that stigma, because at one point, I remember as well that if you went to behavioral health or anything along those lines, you weren't allowed to be selected for drill sergeant or recruiter. But now that's not even something that they look at as a prerequisite anymore for people to get those broadened assignments. It's like, why are you punishing someone for trying to better themselves? If you're fat, you're going to go to the gym. You're not going to look at that person differently because they're in the gym. If you're impoverished, you're going to go to a job interview and get a job. We're doing these things to elevate ourselves, but why was it that when someone went to behavioral health to better their mental, to get that emotional and spiritual support, that they're viewed differently? But the Army also has this thing now, Vandro, it's called holistic health, right? Where they talk about mind, body, and spirit. So it's not just focusing on PT anymore. Like we want to focus on you evolving and becoming a better person as a whole. So kudos to the Army for that, for sure.
Eric, I want to ask you about because there's a lot of, I'm trying to be very cautious with how I say this, but there's a lot of linguistic gymnastics going on in regards to pronouns and, what gender are you and stuff like that. Has that stuff leaked into the Army? And if it has, how are you guys handling that in regards to linguistically how you guys are speaking? Like, what's a he, what's a she, what's a they, what's a it, what's a table, what's this? Is this stuff leaked into the Army in regards to that?
I don't think so necessarily, because I acknowledge you by your rank and what your last name says.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
just me personally. So if I see Ty in uniform,
Yeah.
his name is Captain Askew. Or if he sees me, Staff Sergeant Lane. I
Yeah.
personally haven't experienced anything with that, and I want to speak ignorantly on the Army as a whole, or things they've done to kind of mitigate things from taking place. So I don't really have too much experience on that.
Yeah. And with you, Ty, same?
From my table, from what I see, I serve with soldiers who are openly gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't treat them any different from any other soldier, right? And
Yeah.
I take pride in saying that we do have an environment. I'm telling you, um, if I see you outside with a rainbow T-shirt on, gay pride, you out with your friends at brunch, you doing your thing, I'm gonna still speak to you. What's up, bro? Y'all good? Y'all having a good time? Enjoy
Yeah.
yourself. I'll see you on Monday. Because when you come to that,
Mm-hmm.
when you come back to the unit of formation, if you're not bringing,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not trying to make yourself stand out because of your sexuality and try to get special treatment, I really don't care. Like you,
Yeah.
and that's just me. My leadership philosophy. If you go, I've seen. Like I said, I have open gates. So go ahead, do your thing. Nice to see you. Y'all good?
Yeah.
And be safe. Enjoy yourself. I'm gonna tell the same thing to my soldier who husband got a husband and kids, or a wife and kids. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
person. Like what you do for you. As Eric said, that holistic fitness, we talking spiritual, mental, physical, what was it, emotional, and financial. Do it, whatever makes you happy. Because in order for us to get the best version of you, we need you to be the best version of you. And if that requires you to be authentically yourself, which it should be for all of us, and do that. It doesn't bother us. You know what I mean? And we accept that. And I'm not going to say tolerance, it's acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tolerate anything. We accept you for who you are. And that's a big
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, but I wanted to, because the reason I asked this question, I have a follow-up question in regards to physical training, right? So with the gender politics and everything, how does that work in regards to, okay, I say I'm a girl today. So do I then do the female requirements for the physical training test, or how is that working right now currently in the Army?
I mean, I haven't seen that yet, but your birth certificate say male. You can evaluate on the male standards. We'll go pull up your iPerms and see what that says. If you're female, you get those female standards. That's.
Okay.
I think it's black and white in that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. And in regards to the male and female physical training test, are they still they're still different, right? Or is it still roughly the same? Because I know because I know you guys are in the Army, but outside of the Army is just like the equality thing and everything. So I'm wondering, are they just made the standard just one unified standard, or are they still doing separate standards in regards to male and female?
It's still separate standards,
Okay.
male and female tests. I know the intent of the ACFT was to make one unified standard. But after
Yeah.
doing more research and investing millions of dollars into this research, I mean, the Army's doing what the science says. And that's not to say that anyone is limited based off their gender. Because I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we all know it. We got some females in this unit who smoke all of us. Let's just be real, right? So there's no limitations, but they're just following the science. And there's some males that they need to stay in the gym. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, appreciate that. In regards to another thing I wanted to ask is about the promotion standards, right? With Eric. So Eric, the promotion has it changed in regards to how it was back then, from going from E4 to E5 and E5 to E6, or is it roughly basically the same type of standards as it was before? There's a certain time that I guess you have to wait in between from E5 to become an E6. How is that? How has it basically changed? Are you still going to the soldier? You still doing soldier of the month? I think it's like a promotion. You go to promotional board after that. Can you just break down the entire process, because I kind of forgot it.
I got you. It varies per unit, right? So back in the 49th, we all had to go to the soldier of the month and then
Yeah.
go to the promotion board. But I think
Yeah.
now, some units will allow you to go directly to the promotion board, barring the soldier, all situational based and circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
But for E5, going from specialist to sergeant, then going from sergeant to staff sergeant, you have to go to a promotion board.
Yeah.
But the main difference now, bro, is that after BLC,
yeah.
everyone's a corporal. After BLC,
Wow. Whoa.
everyone's a corporal after BLC, right? And I like that they changed that because think about it, bro. Remember, we all had that specialist P behind our name for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were some days where hey, you could sit at the NCO meeting, and there were some days where it's like, nah, you're not an NCO yet. So
yeah.
I love that corporal rank because it allows those NCOs to make those mistakes prior to actually getting promoted. And then you have some MOSs where the promotion points are so astronomical high, they would have been a specialist promoted for a long time, and that gets demoralizing, and you're not really gaining much as a specialist promotable. So as crazy as it sounds, what's on your chest, it can dictate a lot.
Yeah.
Like literally what's on your chest, it unfortunately dictates a lot. And having that corporal, you're privy of certain meetings, you're privy of certain conversations, and they're treating you like an NCO. The only difference is that you don't have the points yet to make sergeant, but as a corporal, you were a corporal, you know how it is. Like they treat you like an NCO.
Yeah, exactly. You're like NCO, but not really an NCO. The NCO sometimes is kind of weird. But can you break down a little bit the point system for the audience?
Okay. So it's been a while. So points are comprised of civilian education, military education, physical fitness, BRM, which is basic rifle marksmanship, and awards, right? And so based off of your MOS, headquarters Army will say, hey, you need this amount of points to make the next rank for this month. Yeah. So remember, for a long time, the 80 Novembers, our points were like -5 for a long time, right? But nah, not really. But 39 is the lowest you can go. But those days don't exist anymore, bro. Unfortunately for our MOS, like I haven't seen points at 39 probably in like almost at least like 3 years for the 80 Novembers. But it just the point system is cool because it challenges you to better yourself, right? You want to maximize your weapons. Hey, keep going to the range till you maximize that particular field. You want to maximize your PRT, your physical fitness. Hey, take the PT test every week until you get your desired score, which will ultimately equate you getting more promotion points. Okay, cool. You want to do military education or civilian education? Continue to better yourself to make yourself more marketable and competitive so you can get that rank and also set the example for your soldiers.
Yeah, makes sense. So, guys, I want to close off. I just want to ask you guys first. I'll start with Ty, and just for the audience that's watching this, for anyone that's considering joining the military, what would you say to them specifically in regards to the Army and why they should join the Army and how the Army has basically helped transform your lives over the course of time?
Yeah, if you want to, I'm simple with it, right? I tell kids all the time, if you don't want to join the Army, don't join. We're not gonna beg and plead you to join. Just being real with you, right? Because we want young men and women who want to be here. Right? I don't want to have to persuade you and convince you, and you come to the field and you're no longer feeling good, or you go overseas and you just want to hide behind the T-wall. Like, no, we need soldiers, right? I'll tell any young person that if you want to learn skills that are transferable to the civilian sector, and I'm not talking about what you learn on the job, I'm talking about your ability to communicate with any person. I said it earlier, any race, ethnicity, creed, sexual orientation. I can't think of any other profession that would take a multitude of people, put them together, send them thousands of miles away from home, tell them to complete a mission, then come back home. The military is special, right? It would teach you those life skills that you will need to succeed in anything that you do, right? In addition to it, the educational benefits are just outstanding. I went to Virginia State University, right? HBCU in Petersburg, and I had a ball. The Army said, hey, you're doing a good job. It's time for you to get your master's. Sent me to Syracuse University, up in Syracuse, New York. Got a master's in information management and concentration security. I went down, did my company command. The Army said, hey, you're killing the guy. Go get another degree. Sent me to get my MBA from William & Mary, the College of William & Mary, excuse me. And then advanced my wife's doctoral, right? And the moves that we're making, I'm 32 now. I really feel like I could have got out when I was 26 because the military had me straight. The same thing with Eric. That's why he's making the transition. I'm gonna hurry up because my son's coming down. But if you want to set yourself up for life, this is the spot for you. Including that VA loan again. Hey, Dane, be quiet, please. I have a good friend who he got out. He was like 27. He used that VA loan, and he just kept flipping it. Now he has 10 digits of real estate. Started with a VA
Mm.
loan. So the opportunities are endless, but we do require something of you. We do require you to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Right? We do in that Constitution, what Article 1, legislative, those elected officials that make the laws. Article 2, the executive cabinet, the president, his branch. Article 3, the Supreme Court. So the decisions that are made. And that's my message to you. If you want to become a better person, invest 3 to 4 years of your life with the U.S. Army. If you like it, stay. If you don't, get out. But I promise you, you'll be better.
Eric, what you got, man? Closing thoughts.
Hey man, I'm just keep it simple. If you want to do it, do your research, and if you do it, have an open mind.
Guys, man, I appreciate
That's
you
it.
guys so much. Yeah, man, this has been a blast, man. I wish we could keep going on, but man, I think I'm gonna close it off here, man. I appreciate you guys so much, man. And yeah, you guys have been amazing. I wish you guys the best on your transitions. If I know Eric is transitioning, I'm not sure if Ty, if you're transitioning or not, or if you're gonna do a full 20. You plan
Soon
on
to
doing a
be
full 20,
major.
Ty?
Yeah,
What'd you
man, I'm
say?
trying to. I want to do 420. I put on like major. Eric said I'm about to put on major in a few months. And then I'm going to ILE, get back to the East Coast, and I'm ready to get back in a fight, that ForceCon fight. I love USAREC. I'm learning a lot here. I would love to come back, but yeah, I'm ready to get back active.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate you guys, man. Guys, it's been another great episode of the Mooncast, man. And peace.